The Galactic Council chambers were silent. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in their towering seats, their cold eyes focused on the center of the Grand Hall. In the middle stood a single human, Ambassador Elias Voss. His voice was steady, but his hands were clenched into fists. He had heard enough. Humanity will not be controlled. The words echoed through the chamber, sending a wave of murmurs across the alien delegates. The High Chancellor, a towering reptilian Cyrac, narrowed his glowing yellow eyes. "You speak as if you have a choice." Elias let out a breath, his jaw tightening. For years, Earth had been a loyal member of the Galactic Council, following their laws, paying their tributes, and sending their brightest minds to serve the great alien empire. But it had never been true equality. Humans were ordered, taxed, and restricted. Their technology was monitored. Their expansion into the stars was blocked. And today, the Council had gone too far. A betrayal too great. "The Council has voted," the Chancellor continued, his voice smooth but merciless. "Earth must surrender its military fleet. All human warships will be decommissioned immediately." A wave of gasps and mutterings spread through the few human representatives in the chamber. Elias felt a cold rage burning inside him. This was not just a law. This was a death sentence. "You expect us to give up our defenses?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. "Yes," the Chancellor replied without hesitation. "It is for galactic peace. Humanity has an aggressive nature. You must be guided, controlled. We cannot risk." "Risk what?" Elias interrupted, taking a step forward. His voice was sharper now, his heart pounding. "Risk that we might become strong enough to stand as equals." The silence in the chamber was deep and heavy. Elias scanned the faces of the alien leaders. Some looked amused. Some looked indifferent. None looked afraid. That was their mistake. The last warning. Elias straightened his posture. "Humanity has honored every treaty. We have fought in your wars. We have bled for your causes. And now you ask us to strip away our defenses, to kneel." His voice rang through the chamber, challenging them all. The Chancellor's eyes flickered with something that almost looked like pity. "It is not a request. The decision is final. Defiance will not be tolerated." Elias knew what that meant. Any resistance would be crushed. Humans were allowed to exist because they were useful. But the moment they became a threat, the Council would wipe them out. He took a slow, deep breath. Then he spoke the words that would change history. "Then humanity chooses defiance." The chamber erupts. The entire chamber exploded into chaos. Alien delegates shouted. Threats were made. Some called for an immediate strike against Earth. Others looked shocked, as if they had never expected humanity to resist. Elias didn't wait. He turned sharply and walked away, his boots echoing against the cold floor. A voice stopped him at the door. "Ambassador Voss." He turned back. A High Chancellor was watching him with a strange expression. Not anger, curiosity. "Do you truly understand what you have done?" Elias held his gaze. "Yes." The Chancellor nodded slowly. "Then so be it. The beginning of the end." As Elias stepped into his shuttle, his communicator beeped. A familiar voice came through. The voice of Admiral Kirin, commander of Earth's fleet. "Is it done?" the Admiral asked. Elias looked out of the window, watching the distant glow of Earth. "Yes," he said. "It's time." The channel went silent for a moment. Then the Admiral spoke 4 words that sent a chill through Elias's spine. "Operation Exodus is live. Humanity walks away." For the first time in galactic history, a species chose to leave the Council. Ships were recalled. Trade routes were shut down. Earth closed its doors. To the rest of the galaxy, it was madness. No species had ever dared to defy the Council. They believed humanity would return. They believed they could force them back. They were wrong. And soon, they would learn why. The news spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Humanity was gone. They had abandoned the Galactic Council, cut all ties, and vanished into the depths of space. Trade routes collapsed. Diplomatic channels went silent. No species had ever dared to leave before. And the Council was not going to let them go so easily. The Council's response. High Chancellor Varish Klin stood before the Grand Assembly, his piercing yellow eyes scanning the room. Humanity's betrayal will not go unpunished, he declared. The room erupted into shouting. Some demanded immediate military action. Others urged caution. That Exalvoran warlord slammed his fist on the table. We should strike now, before they build their strength. An Avenari diplomat, her silver wings twitching, hissed. And what if they are already stronger than we think? The High Chancellor silenced them all with a single sentence. Then we will find out. Operation Shadow Hunt. The Council sent scouts, spies, and warships to track the humans. But there was a problem. Humanity had disappeared. Entire colonies were abandoned overnight. Massive space stations vanished without a trace. Even Earth's home system was empty. It was as if humanity had erased itself from the galaxy. But the Council wasn't fooled. They were still up there. Somewhere. A dangerous encounter. Captain Droll Korvik, a seasoned Exuric operative, led a small reconnaissance fleet to investigate one of Earth's last known outposts, Luna Base. The moon was supposed to be lifeless. But as soon as his fleet entered orbit, his sensors screamed with alerts. Sir, we're being jammed. The comms went dark. Droll's blood ran cold. This was a trap. A single human transmission cut through the interference. You should not have come. Then the weapons fired. The Ghost Fleet. The stars exploded as unseen weapons ripped through the Council ships. Droll's fleet was destroyed in minutes. The few survivors barely escaped, their ships crippled and burning. When they finally made it back to Council space, their report sent shockwaves through the assembly. The humans weren't hiding. They were waiting. And they had weapons the galaxy had never seen before. The silent war begins. The Council realized the terrifying truth. Humanity was not running from them. They were preparing for war. But what were they waiting for? That question would soon be answered, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council was in chaos. The attack on Luna Base was supposed to be a simple reconnaissance mission. Instead, it had turned into a massacre. Humanity had new weapons, new tactics, and worst of all, they were fighting a war the Council didn't even realize had begun. The Council's next move. High Chancellor Varish Klin sat in his war chamber, his clawed fingers tapping against the cold metal table. Enough of this waiting, he growled. We must show strength. We must crush them before they become a real threat. A massive fleet was assembled, the largest in Council history. 50 warships, hundreds of fighters, thousands of soldiers. Their target, Proxima Centauri. It was one of the last known human colonies. The plan was simple: invade, occupy, and force humanity back under control. They believed it would be an easy victory. They were wrong. The trap is set. As the Council fleet entered Proxima Centauri's orbit, everything seemed normal. No warships, no defense stations, only a few small human outposts on the surface. No resistance. Admiral Kale of the Salvoran Empire muttered, "Typical humans." They ran again. But as the fleet moved closer, something changed. One by one, the ship's systems began to fail. Shields dropped. Engines flickered. Weapons went offline. "What is happening?" a commander roared. Then, a single human transmission cut through their comms. "Welcome to the battlefield." And the sky erupted in fire. The power of humanity. Out of nowhere, hidden stealth ships decloaked and rained hell upon the Council fleet. Massive railguns tore through shields like paper. Electromagnetic pulses disabled entire warships. Drones swarmed fighters, overwhelming them in seconds. For the first time in galactic history, a council fleet was being slaughtered. Admiral Kale barely managed to retreat, his once mighty fleet reduced to burning wreckage. Proxima Centauri was not a colony. It was a battleground. The war is real. When news of the defeat reached the council, the realization hit them like a shockwave. This was not rebellion. This was not resistance. This was war. And for the first time, the Galactic Council was afraid. The Galactic Council had suffered its greatest military defeat in history. Proxima Centauri was supposed to be an easy victory, a simple show of force to remind humanity of its place. Instead, the fleet had been crushed. Ships destroyed. Commanders dead. Survivors humiliated. And now, for the first time, the Council feared humanity. The blame game. The Grand Assembly descended into chaos. "This is impossible," one senator roared. "Humans are primitive, weak. They should not have weapons like this. Someone has betrayed us," another accused. "Someone has given them technology beyond their level." High Chancellor Vereshklin stood silently, his piercing yellow eyes scanning the room. Enough. The chamber fell silent. It does not matter how they got their weapons. It does not matter how they fight. He stepped forward, his voice like ice. What matters is that they must be stopped. A desperate plan. The Council had two choices. One, launch another direct attack, but after Proxima Centauri, they knew that was suicide. Two, cripple humanity from within. They chose the second option. The plan was simple. Assassinate human leadership. Sabotage their infrastructure. Crush their war machine before it could grow stronger. Infiltrating the shadows. A team of elite council operatives was assembled. Spies, assassins, and saboteurs. Their mission: infiltrate human space and destroy their war efforts from within. They targeted 3 locations: Mars Command, the nerve center of humanity's military; Luna shipyards, the massive factories producing Earth's new warships; the Titan archives, a hidden database containing humanity's battle strategies. The first strike. The operatives slipped past defenses, using stolen human ships and forged identities. On Mars, they prepared to assassinate General Ethan Carter, Earth's supreme commander. On Luna, they planted explosives to cripple the shipyards. On Titan, they hacked into Earth's war plans. Everything was going perfectly. Until it wasn't. The mistake that changed everything. As the assassin approached General Carter, he noticed something strange. The guards weren't surprised to see him. They weren't panicked. They were waiting. "Nice try," Carter said, drawing his sidearm. The trap had been set. The Council's spies had been exposed, and now the humans had their own plan. The turning point. Within hours, humanity captured or eliminated every operative, and instead of destroying the shipyards on Luna, humans used the failed sabotage attempt as an excuse to accelerate ship production. Within days, hundreds of new warships were ready for battle. The Council had hoped to cripple humanity before they could strike again. Instead, they had given them the perfect excuse for war. And this time, humanity would not hold back. The Council's sabotage mission had failed. Instead of crippling humanity, they had accelerated its war machine. Hundreds of new warships had been rushed into service. Weapons research had tripled overnight. And now, for the first time in history, humanity was taking the war to the Council. The declaration of war. General Ethan Carter stood before the United Terran Fleet. His voice was calm but unshakable. The Council wanted war. Now they will have it. Across the fleet, millions of human soldiers cheered. Humanity had always fought for survival. Now they would fight for dominance. Their first target, the Council's most prized system, Villara Prime. The attack on Villara Prime. Villara Prime was a symbol of Council power, a massive core world filled with wealthy elites, towering spires, and orbital shipyards. It had never been attacked. It had never been threatened. The Council believed it was untouchable. They were wrong. The invasion begins. At first, the Council's defense stations detected nothing. Then, space itself seemed to warp. Human stealth ships decloaked, unleashing devastating railgun barrages. Massive orbital platforms exploded before they could fire a single shot. Within minutes, the once secure Velara system was burning. The battle turns. The Council scrambled to defend their homeworld. Massive warships jumped into the system, unleashing energy weapons and plasma cannons. But humanity was prepared. EMP strikes disabled shields. Hypersonic missiles ripped through armor. Eye-controlled drones overwhelmed defenses. Council admirals watched in horror as their forces collapsed. For centuries, they had ruled through fear. Now, they were the ones afraid. The final blow. As the battle raged, a single human dropship descended onto Velara Prime's surface. It carried a message. General Carter himself stepped out, walking straight into the Council chambers. "The time of the Council is over," he declared. The alien leaders trembled. For the first time, humanity was no longer a subject of the Galactic Council. They were its conquerors. The war had changed forever. The war had changed forever. Humanity was no longer a rebellious faction. They were an unstoppable force. The attack on Velara Prime had shattered the illusion of Council dominance. Now, the once mighty Galactic Council was on its knees, and humanity was ready to deliver the final blow. The Council's last stand. High Chancellor Varish Klin sat in the ruined war chamber of the Council's capital. His advisors argued, his generals shouted, but he knew the truth. The Council was finished. One by one, member species were surrendering or switching sides. The fleets they had spent centuries building were now wreckage floating in space. There must be a way to stop them, a Salvoran admiral hissed. Klin's claws tightened into fists. There is only one option left. Desperation filled his voice. We must surrender. The surrender. For the first time in galactic history, the Council requested peace talks. Humanity's response was swift. No peace, only justice. But still, they agreed to a meeting. On a neutral moon near the ruins of Velara Prime, the leaders of the Galactic Council and Earth's supreme commanders gathered for the final negotiation. Varish Klin looked across the table at General Ethan Carter. The human commander's gaze was cold, unshaken by fear, unmoved by desperation. "You thought you could control us." Carter's voice was even. "You thought we would kneel." He leaned forward. "You were wrong. Humanity's terms. There was no discussion, no bargaining. Humanity had 3 demands. 1. The complete dissolution of the Galactic Council. 2. All former Council-controlled worlds would choose their own future. 3. Humanity would take the Council's place as the dominant power in the galaxy. The Council had no choice. One by one, the alien leaders signed the surrender. At that moment, the Galactic Council ceased to exist, and a new age began, the rise of the Terran Dominion. As the Council's banners fell, a new flag rose in their place. Humanity had not just won the war. They had conquered the stars. Now, they ruled. The war was over. The Galactic Council was gone, its mighty fleets destroyed, its rulers disgraced, and its empire shattered. In its place, a new power had risen, humanity. For the first time in galactic history, Earth was not just another species in the stars. It was the dominant force. And the galaxy would never be the same. The new order. The former Council worlds had 2 choices. 1. Swear loyalty to the Terran Dominion. 2. Be left to fend for themselves. Most chose loyalty. They had seen what humanity could do, how they fought, how they endured, how they won. And deep down, they knew the truth. Human rule was better than extinction. The punishment of the Council leaders, High Chancellor Varish Klin, and the remaining Council rulers were brought to Earth. It was poetic justice. After centuries of treating humans as lesser beings, they now stood before a human court. Some demanded their execution. Others called for exile. But humanity had a different punishment. Instead of death, they would live. They would witness humanity's rise. They would watch as Earth did what the Council never could, bring true stability to the galaxy. Humanity's future. Under human rule, wars between alien species stopped. Corrupt Council policies were erased. Technology and innovation thrived. But humanity never forgot. They had learned a lesson. Never be weak. Never be controlled. Never let history repeat itself. The final message. General Ethan Carter stood before the leaders of the galaxy. "We are not your enemies," he said, "but never again will we be your servants." The aliens listened. They knew one thing for certain. Humanity had claimed the stars, and nothing could stop them now.